Hi, I'm Haritha Chordway, a product manager on the Polaris platform. This video will talk about Polaris' triage approval workflow, which is a great way for various personas inside an organization to align to a common triage approval process that aligns with corporate policies. There are a lot of challenges when it comes to triaging findings. You need oversight of enforcement into corporate policies around triaging findings. Developers need a way to ask for exceptions and get those approvals quickly so that they're not blocking release timelines. And compliance team needed traceable checkpoints and workflows so that it shows to auditors. Let's see how Polaris addresses some of these issues. As an org admin, I can set up a triage approval workflow for my entire organization by going into my org. In this case, I've set this up so that any issues that are dismissed need approval. In addition, I've requested that a comment has to be required by the requester before the approval can go in. I can also set a custom role inside my application roles section that does approvals. In this case, I created an approver role, which I can assign to various applications. This role approves component and issue triage requests, and that's all it does. I can assign multiple people to this role, so there's not a single person as a bottleneck for being the sole approver for the organization. Now let's look at triage approval from the project point of view. In my demo app, as an app admin, I can go into my project settings. And by default, my project has inherited the triage approval settings for the organization. But my project might have custom requirements. So I can go in as an app admin and edit this. For example, I might not want to require a comment for this, so I can save that change. In which case, Polaris shows me that this has been modified from the org setting. I can reset this easily by clicking the reset button, and it simply goes back to the org settings. Now let's look at how we triage issues. For example, I might say that any low findings, issues that I've had in my project, I just want to simply dismiss them as intentional. So I can select them all or select a few. In this case, I've selected 5. And I can set the dismissed status. You can see that the save button does not come in yet because I need to add a comment per my triage approval setting. Once I add a comment in, the save button's enabled. You can see that these 5 issues are still at to be fixed state. However, there's a pending approval section that appears on the top, showing that there are approvals that are needed. As an approver, I can go in and I have a couple ways to approve or reject issues. I can look at a specific issue. I can click on the More Information button, where I can see that it's a pending request. It shows me when the request was made and by whom. And I can reject or approve a request there. I can also select an individual issue and look at the triage history for that issue. And I can see that there is a pending request. I can also make the approval there in my triage state. Finally, I have the other option of going into my filters, looking at pending approvals, and looking at all my pending requests, where it shows me all of my issues that are pending the request. I can bulk select them, and then I can approve or reject them in bulk. In which case, my filters should now show the reflected state and the counts. So if I look at one of my dismissed issues, you can see that the triage history shows me that the request was made and also when it was approved and by whom. So this gives you a quick summary of the triage states. In addition, Polaris will only reflect the approved states when you do any dashboards or reporting views. It will not show you the pending states so that you can see the accurate reflection of your policies and your security stature. So there are a couple advantages to the Polaris triage approval workflow. It gives you oversight into triage decisions. It provides accountability across teams. You can create custom roles to remove any bottlenecks. You can easily approve or reject in bulk. To learn more information about the Polaris triage approval workflow or any other features in Polaris, visit www.blacktop.com. Thank you.